Welcome back to Omni Mindfulness. And before we get started in today's episode, I'd like for you to ponder on the question, how do you prioritize your mental well-being in your daily life?
By synchronizing the hemispheres of our brain, linking up our heartbeat with our breathing and our brain all at one time in a very simple way. So that is something that helps a lot of people who have been able to, who have been longtime meditators. They love it. And the people who have struggled to learn how to meditate because the monkey mind chatters or they are having that PTSD reaction, they love it because it's something that they can latch onto and really get there. And we've been able to use like the heart math monitors to find out where your HRV, heart rate variability is. And also with, say, the Sensei headset, which is a 5-in-1 brain training EEG headset that I use with my elite clients and my athletes. But then also through quantitative EEG, those are the ones with the cap on and they have all the goop. We've actually had that with one of the best neuroscientists in the country, or if not the world. And to be able to use these things to really kind of quantify where we're at. But it's also important not to get stuck on the result of, I felt good when I was in this brainwave state and I won't feel.
Namaste, beautiful souls. I'm Shilpa, and you're tuned into the Omni Mindfulness podcast, a sanctuary for spiritual entrepreneurs. As a holistic mindfulness coach and social marketing strategist, I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey. On this show, we explore captivating stories and provide practical tools that deepen your connection with your authentic self. Through the personal and professional narratives of remarkable individuals, we expand our consciousness and ignite the spark of possibility. Each season, I curate content that empowers you to create a holistic lifestyle encompassing spirituality, mindfulness, energy awareness, and mindset. Join me as we engage in conversations with experts in their respective fields and share solo casts from yours truly, all aimed at supporting you and relaxing, revitalizing, resetting your body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host and the visionary behind Omni Mindfulness. So what if just one story had the power to shift the trajectory of your life? What if you could become an instrument in helping others realize their true selves? And what if your soul's higher purpose lies in experiencing the joy of Omni Mindfulness? Remember, it's never too late to rewrite your story. When my next guest was asked what is his vision for the future, Nate Zalesnik shared that his mission is to empower influencers of all kinds with advanced meditations, next-level breathwork, and human potential systems, facilitating their energetic awakenings to inspire humanity's proactive adaptations to radical changes of Earth and society. Nate is a true pioneer, distinguished as one of only 2 American master trainers of an ancient royal Indonesian energy and martial arts system. He masterfully integrates this unique next-level practice with modern scientific methodologies and technologies through his creation of the Integrated Accession Method, also known as IM, and the White Dove Method. His groundbreaking work, rooted in over 20 years of teaching globally, is renowned for enabling unparalleled personal development and superhuman breakthroughs, promoting physical, mental, and spiritual growth through revolutionary breathwork, meditation, energy management, and holistic therapies. His business has been featured in documentaries on Netflix, Gaia, and Amazon Prime, and the result of his method have been validated by experts in the field of medicine, neuropathy, physics, quantum physics, neuroscience, and consciousness research. With the Integrated Accession Method, Nate offers a beacon of hope and a road to a future where every individual can thrive, harness their abilities, and contribute positively to the global community. Join me on this transformative conversation. Welcome, Nate. I am so honored to have you here.
Shilpa, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here as well. And hello to everyone who's watching or listening right now.
One of the things we were discussing just before we hit record was something that I feel like a lot of people are ready to listen to in terms of transcending beyond the conscious mind. And today's topic is about really crafting presence through soulful storytelling. And I feel like your story, what I read about you, is so powerful. Maybe we'll start from there. What is your catalyst in your journey towards where you are now?
Many. There are many catalysts, but to give everyone a little bit of a background on myself, my name is Nate Zalesnik. From a small town in Utah called Huntsville. Now, in Utah, for people who are familiar with Utah, you know that there is a predominant religion here, and now it's a quite a diverse and a very culturally open place, more than it ever has been. But in the 70s and 80s, growing up as the smallest kid in my grade, the one who was not part of the church, was an easy target. That I became the target of a lot of bullying, physically, mentally, and emotionally, to the point where sometimes the bullies would even come to my house during summer break to kick my ass. So from the age of 5 until about 17, I had pretty much no safe space. I had very few, if well, maybe a couple friends in my whole life. And by the age of 11, I was really contemplating suicide on a daily, many times a day basis. And so when I was around 12, I started having spontaneous out of body projections where my awareness would leave my physical body and I would be able to travel and have fun and do these amazing things. And I really credit my higher self providing this for me literally to save my life. So if you can imagine being having dark thoughts all the time, and then one night you're going to sleep, you're laying on your back, you're breathing slowly in through your nose and out through your mouth, and then your body feels very heavy, like you're being weighed down by one of those weighted blankets, and then you can't move and start to feel this vibration in your body from the core of you outward, and knowing that your body's not actually shaking, but then feeling kind of like almost like a pop or a tear where all of a sudden you're not limited by this sticky, confined, heavy body and floating up out of your body and being fully aware that this is not a dream. And then rolling over and seeing yourself laying there, not knowing what's happening. And in my case, I was happy I was dead. I was hoping that's what happened. It was so freeing and liberating, and I didn't want to go back. As you can see, I did come back. And so I snapped back into my body. And if you've ever had the experience where you're just about ready to go to sleep and then all of your muscles fire all at once, it's an interesting phenomenon that I've read about in sleep studies where it's the only time really that every single synapse in your body fires all at once. Well, for me, and I can't speak for everybody else out there, but I've noticed that when I return back to my body and I snap back in, that happens. So possibly that's what's happening to all of us, is that our consciousness is not housed in our body. Neuroscience knows this. We know we're so much more than a physical body. We can measure brainwaves from outside of our head with things like a magnetoencephalograph. So the interesting thing about this is we're all here having experience, right? That's why we come to the Earth School, is to have experience. It's ongoing and you can't shut it off. So we get the opportunity to ask ourselves, what do I want to experience now? What is my preference? And for every situation in our life, rather than judging it, if we ask a simple question, how is this for me? How is this for me? Now, as far as presence is concerned, these things are very relevant because, as we had talked about a little bit before the show started, Shilpa, an out-of-body experience may seem very woo-woo and very out there for a lot of people. And yet, it's something that has been trained for numerous CIA agents It's something that our government has subsidized in order for them to spy on the Soviet Union to find out where nuclear missiles were during the Cold War. So this is definitely something that is legitimate. We can measure it to some degree, but it is also a very subjective experience. And it's one that's literally our birthright that all of us do when we're little. And then along the way, we forget and we get not stuck, but I'll say we get addicted to the 3D, to our five senses. That said, the ancient Egyptians said that we have 360 senses, not five. So what have we forgotten in the millennia since they were around? We forgot how they wrote things. That's why we needed the Rosetta Stone. We've also lost the ability to train in all these different things, at least on a large scale. But that doesn't mean we still don't have those abilities or have that ability to perceive. And presence is how those things can come about. Very rarely can we be thinking about, did I eat all my macros? Did I leave the oven on? I wonder what my kid's teacher's going to say, and be totally having an out-of-body experience, as Thich Nhat Hanh had said, which is thinking about something that's not right here, right now, future or past. Not the astral travel, but future or past thinking. That when we really take a look at this, coming back into presence, right here, right now, without judgment, meaning not thinking, instead being aware. That is one of the most divine experiences that we can have, that then leads to greater understanding of our purpose on the planet, but also what our higher intrinsic abilities are, because we're not distracting ourselves with things that are not actually present.
Hey, sweet souls, thanks for listening. I know you are experiencing the desire to transition, find your purpose, and thrive. Maybe you're pivoting from one point in your life to a new part of your career or personal life. You're hoping to experience freedom, but feeling the drain of time, skills, and resources, along with the doubts of worthiness, capacity, and confidence, especially with the given new evolving technologies. I get it. I hear it all the time too. What I've done is put together a special group, a special process, and a special place for you to hang out, where we overcome those drains and doubts. I love to talk to you more about this if you're serious about making a change. If you're serious about accomplishing that dream. If you're serious about getting off the couch, getting off of whatever is holding you back, and actually getting somewhere with this thing. If you're serious about becoming a person of power, influence, and hope, and experiencing more emotional freedom, time, and better relationships. If you're serious about getting those dreams, I want to invite you to have a conversation about this. Let's see if this program is right for you and take the next step together. You deserve this. You can do this. Check out the link in the show notes below to reach out. Now back to the show. And often it's in the present mind that often I think most of society is struggling with. If I could speak to some of my friends, often just, like I had a friend say, just teach me how to breathe, or teach me how to be aware. And I feel like in our current generation, even like I was telling you earlier, I was in corporate world, being present with anything at that moment had also been, I witnessed, it was not something that people were consciously able to do.
Correct. And that's because in our society prizes accomplishment and being a human doing, not a human being. And I mean, to that end, let's say that you're the CEO of a Fortune 100 company. Sitting around meditating will look like you're doing nothing to everybody around you, right? And the shareholders won't appreciate that very much. That is the paradigm that we are in at this moment. But here's an interesting thing. Have you, and I'm saying this to everybody out there, have you ever taken your work home with you and your stress home with you, where you're no longer in that chaotic situation, you don't have those deadlines, and yet you just go over the stuff in your mind over and over, to the point where you find yourself with your shoulders raised, your back and your neck are tensed, and then you go, ah, and you take a breath and you actually relax a little bit? We all have. We all do that. And even the Dalai Lama or Paramahansa Yogananda, like, is over your right shoulder. No one attains presence at all times. It's something that we do as an ongoing thing every single day. And the easiest way to do that, like you said, people asking you how to breathe, is to remember to breathe. That said, we humans are the worst breathers in the animal kingdom. We're the only animal that doesn't have an intrinsic natural way of breathing for our health. And in fact, research has shown that over 200 different health conditions have been linked directly to improper breathing. The biggest culprit is mouth breathing. So the term mouth breather, yeah, it's a derogatory term, but it's also one of the most harmful things that you can do for your respiration. Mouths were meant for eating. Noses, those are meant for breathing. So breathing out your mouth is no problem. But when we breathe in through our nose, we're stimulating a cascade of hormones and chemicals in our body by stimulating the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. We're cooling the air or warming it up, depending on what the environment is like. The hairs filter out the dust, and I know it's gross, but we produce like a quart of mucus every single day, and that helps to transport pathogens and things that are not healthy for us into our digestive system. But if we're breathing in through our mouth all the time, it's just going straight in. So breathing properly can help us in our health. And the healthier we are, the easier it is to bring ourselves back to presence. There are many receptors in the body, but the one that trumps them all are called the nociceptors, also known as pain receptors. And I think we can all agree that it's very hard to be. When you just stubbed your toe, that's not the time for you to be one with the universe. That's the time for a lot of us to dig out our dictionary of profanity and figure out what we're going to say now. And that's a knee-jerk reaction. And it's actually been shown to reduce pain. Swearing actually reduces pain. It's pretty interesting science on that. That's not an excuse, kids. That's not an excuse. So the thing that is very interesting about breath, though, is it's the only autonomic nervous system function that we can control. Now, there have been yogis and different masters of different traditions who could lower their heart rate almost to the point of death. They can control their digestion. They can do these things, but even babies born underwater know how to hold their breath from minute number one. It's something that's inside of us, and it's something that we can do at any given time. And we have between 25 and 29,000 times every single day to practice it. And yet, it's one of the things that we focus on the very least. And it's, if you're going to bring yourself into presence, and this is an important thing, remember, slowly breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. And if you just ask yourself two questions, the first one is, what time is it? I'm not talking about the hands on the clock, because the answer is always now. The second question is, where am I? And the answer, no matter where you are on the globe, the answer is always here. So a nice deep breath in, asking, what time is it? Right now. Where am I as you exhale? Here. Just by doing that, we can help eliminate a lot of the stress and a lot of the unnecessary release of cortisol and other stress hormones into our body simply by being aware of our present situation right here, right now. And it's very hard to be afraid and in an adrenalized situation, a state, if you're totally present. Now, if you're skydiving, like I love to skydive, yeah, I do that on purpose. But I'm also extremely present. If you're getting chased by a grizzly bear, okay, you're extremely present. Those are situations where it's totally justified to be in a fight or flight situation. But if you're just sitting there in your car and someone happens to cut you off a little bit, or maybe you're going too slow in the left-hand lane and you feel your blood pressure rising, What time is it? Where am I? And you'll feel your whole body relax and settle. Your choice of music will help with this as well. Death metal, probably not going to help you. A little bit of Chopin, maybe some Stravinsky. Sure. There you go. No, I'm not the music police, but something that speaks to your soul that feels good in here to you, that can help a lot as well. So, just a couple ideas for people out there that are actionable that you can do at any given time, no matter where you are. Breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, and remember to do that. I even suggest taping your mouth shut when you sleep. You'll snore less. You'll have to use the restroom less because of chemicals that are released in the body. And you'll actually wake up a lot more rested and you'll sleep better. And there are even companies that make tape for it, but you don't need to get that. Just a little bit of paper medical tape that one roll will last you 5 years and cost you $2.50. A little teeny bit right here, and you will sleep like a baby so much more and wake up so much more refreshed. And the better we sleep, the less stressed we'll be throughout the rest of our day, the easier it is to get into presence. And overall, um, if you have a spouse that snores, it might help with that as well. So yeah, tape their mouth shut.
Well, Nate, I certainly can appreciate that, having struggled with sleep most of my life, and I think a lot of us do. What is interesting is that the depth with which you described the power of breathing and being here and being in the present now, and something that on the surface, yeah, it feels obvious, it feels simple, but even someone like myself who's been practicing the practice most of my life, all of my life probably, it's something that I need to be reminded of.
Yes.
And just for some humor and kicks, I do find it's funny when you talked about stubbing your toe, because I literally dropped a full heavy jar, a glass jar on my toe yesterday. And I was trying to dismiss the amount of pain I might be in. And it wasn't until this morning when I took my sock off and I realized it was bloody as hell.
Yep.
So,
Yes. Yes. And that is, the four agreements. That's agreement number one. You will get a body.
yeah,
And it's subject to those things. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's okay. I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you. Now going back to how you are now taking your mission of this, the work that you've been doing. And I know meditation is a large part of it, and the tools around being present. Where is your current passion leading you to? Because you had mentioned some things before we hit record.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my main passion is let me preface this with I am a longtime martial artist. I'm one of only two Americans allowed to steward a very sacred and ancient, powerful form of martial arts, meditation, breath work, energy harnessing and development, where we actually increase the voltage in every one of our cells, energy healing, and also psychic abilities that we've been able to prove to medicine and science and quantum physics, and neuroscience, and even help some blind people have a better sense of their surroundings through vibrational awareness. That said, the martial art that I have been blessed and hand chosen as the first ever in this lineage outside of Indonesia to learn, it's very dangerous. I don't teach that way. I've always been much nicer to my students than they were to me. But in 2007, I had a near-death experience where during my test, and several people have died during these tests. It's not a strip mall martial art. This is straight out of a movie where there's a real danger element. I chose to come back into my body to fulfill my mission, which is to help a minimum of 10 million people learn this very unique form of breathwork and energy control to help raise the consciousness of the planet. But it's not the planet, obviously. Mother Earth is conscious and she has her own level of consciousness. I mean the level of consciousness of humanity as a whole, because the rising tide does help raise all ships. So with that in mind, after coming back to life in 2007 and owning one of the largest martial arts and meditation academies in the country, having it shut down with COVID and having to go through that experience, now with my integrated ascension method, I combine this very sacred, powerful type of breath work, which is called Marpati Puti. Now, Marpati Puti sounds funny in English, but in Indonesian, it means white dove. And it's the royal inheritance of the kings of Java, Indonesia. And it was passed down for 11 generations. And then I and one of my younger brothers became the only two Americans allowed to learn it. And then for 20 years, we train people all over the world in this. Now we've split. So now we're doing different things. He's doing one aspect of it. I'm doing another aspect. But what I'm doing now is bringing in 21st century technology like biohacking, vibroacoustic technology, brain training, and like EEG, actual brain training. So it's not just putting people in a meditative state, it's teaching them how to get there without any kind of a crutch. Different nutrition, body code and emotion code therapies. I'm certified in that. And BioWell energy diagnostics, which is an energy diagnostic tool out of Russia. So these kinds of things, bringing them together and merging them with the Merpati Puti breathwork system is what I'm so passionate about right now. So online courses for everybody around the world, yes, I have those. But what I really focus on now is people who are CEOs, people who are executives, executive teams, professional athletes, influencers, the people who have large amounts of people that follow them, that emulate them. Because when I can help them ascend into a different level of awareness and consciousness and abilities, the people that follow them will want to do that too. And 10 million people, that's a lot of people, Shilpa. So I know that I'm not able to do that from the bottom up, but from the top down, anything and everything's possible. So that's my big passion right now, is working especially one-on-one with the people who can really move the needle for millions of people, and we all rise together.
Hey, sweet souls, I love hearing from you. Fan mail is turned on. Check the show notes and send me a message. And you mentioned early on when you were describing this lineage and the art that you are following or practicing, that there's an inner vibrational shift that occurs. And I've been intrigued and fascinated not only in terms of the shift that happens from the conscious to the super conscious, but also what I am aware of, like from the alpha to beta to theta waves and heightened states. Can you speak to a little bit about how those different wave states indicate our level of consciousness and how you can shift it using some of the techniques that you teach?
Sure. Well, first of all, because I'm a very nerdy person, I love science, and I've worked with some of the most, just to say, they are neuroscientists on another level who have done thousands of brain scans on people from shamans to meditators to my people who could see without eyes. No one is ever in alpha. I'm just going to put it that way. Nobody's ever in theta. Nobody's ever in beta. Nobody's ever in gamma. Nobody's ever in delta. We have all of these brainwaves happening simultaneously. If you look at brainwave monitors, they're all going on. So we're never in a brainwave state, but we are in a predominant brainwave state. So just to clarify that this is something that a lot of people are like, I dropped into theta. Well, without the brain training equipment or some way to measure the brain waves, you have no idea if you were. It's you can't feel like, oh, I felt like I. No, that doesn't work that way. So that's why I like the technologies that I'm bringing, because we can actually see and measure it. But that said, it doesn't mean we're not in a perfect meditative state for ourselves, regardless of whether it's in a low beta brainwave or it's in a high theta. That's not what's most important because, and this is the reason I say that, and this might be controversial, but that's okay. I like to stir the pot. And I beg anybody to actually prove me wrong that consciousness is non-local. It's not housed in your body. So it's not really what your brain is doing as much as your awareness of the higher aspect of yourself. So as we understand, so if you look at, say, Joe Dispenza's work or Bruce Lipton's work, and you look at what they're doing, and also some of the neuroscience that's coming out is fascinating on consciousness. We can measure brain waves from outside the head. Well, if they were all inside the head, well, how could we measure it from 5 feet out? And the reason I say that is because, and I know I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but I want to help people have a better understanding that because you're in a certain brainwave state does not mean you can do anything that is not attainable with another one necessarily. The brainwave states do correspond to different brain chemicals being released, but it's not like, oh, well, I have to be in a theta brainwave state to see without my eyes, or I need to be in a low alpha state in order to have out of body experiences, or I need to be in a delta state in order to have muscular repair going on. It's not actually that way. So we don't actually understand. The brain is still such a mystery to science and to all of us, actually. So this is what I would say to everybody out there. Do it based upon how you feel, not contemplating, oh, am I in the right brainwave state to do this? That's inconsequential because when it comes down to consciousness, it's not even in your body. And we know this. It's not in your body. Your consciousness is everywhere. It's a quantum phenomenon. So that's how we can remote view. And the CIA spies can see what's going on in Mother Russia and see where their nuclear missiles were. That's how people are able to do quantum healing from thousands of miles away instantly. And that's something that's getting more and more traction and more proof because it's not always about what state you're in this physical thing. It's about the state you're in here. It does have to do with that, sure, but in here and everywhere. And that's what I love to help people do is go beyond their physical limitations that society, their religions, their family, their friends, themselves and their own observations have convinced them that that's all they can do and all they can be and are. And helping people have oh my God moments. That's one of the most amazing things for me in my practice for 24 years now is seeing the whites of people's eyes when they start to experience more of their higher nature. And it's not about what you can do. It's about what you're being. And when people step into that, that is a bell that I love to see people ring for themselves because they can never go back. So that may not be the answer necessarily that most guests give you, but it's in my own studies and my own experiences for the past, well, we'll just say 30 lots of years, 30 many years since I started having these out of body experiences and really diving in and studying the science and the methodologies behind it, and then having many of my own, including dying and coming back to life. Those are the things that I've come to realize is that we're so much grander, so much larger, so much more infinite than our brain and our consciousness that is housed like in our normal waking life can possibly fathom. And all it takes is a minuscule peak and everything changes.
Fascinating that you brought up three concepts. One is actually, I'm so glad you clarified because I've been hearing from a lot of experts in this mindfulness and the space, especially like a few from Mind Valley and others. Uh, yeah, there's like zeroing in on the fact that I'm using these technologies to measure, but the measurement is around these waves. And hence, if you're in this wave, this is equating to some state you are achieving. And I have found that to be, it didn't settle well and until you explained your perspective on it. Because in my perspective, when you mentioned um, being present just a moment ago, you said something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing, but that how you are feeling is an indicator. And to me, how you're feeling is your perspective on the focus of a vibrational state and then match vibrational state. So, having said that, there's a huge amount of clarification that I truly appreciate. Now, for someone who like, okay, so yes, I have been meditating and practicing a melu of different techniques, so to speak. I cannot necessarily measure things, although I'm glad to hear that there is one way that some people have that perspective.
Sure.
One thing I like your perspective on, perhaps you have looked into it. I believe her name is Dr. Jha, talked about the 12-minute meditation and
Hmm.
studies how they were connected, and people in the Navy SEAL and others, and showing that those who had PTSD versus those who had not meditated and going into the state after 12 minutes, there's these neural pathways that are created after repetitive meditation that allows you to achieve that heightened sense of awareness and create, I don't know, experience peace, so to speak. So
Yes.
how can you share anything about um, your thoughts around the length and the techniques that are used in meditation that can help others?
Sure. You know, that is a subjective thing. And I love that she has done that research. I have not heard of her before. Dr. Jha, I'm going to remember that and look at her work. So, to that end, I've worked with many people with PTSD, whether they're rape survivors, soldiers, people who were abused as a child, or domestic violence issues. And meditation is one of the most valuable and important things that they can do. That said, some people, as soon as they close their eyes, they go into an anxiety panic reaction. So sometimes open eye meditation is valuable. Sometimes closed eye meditation is valuable. But one thing about the integrated ascension method that I found really unique, because I'd already been meditating for a very long time with numerous techniques, whether it's binaural beats or with mindfulness or transcendental meditation, before I ever came across Merpati Putti. But one thing I loved is that it is a meditation technique that helps almost anybody, even if they have ADHD, meditate and get into a brainwave state of heart-brain coherence very quickly by synchronizing the hemispheres of our brain, linking up our heartbeat with our breathing and our brain all at one time in a very simple way. So that is something that helps a lot of people who have been able to, who have been longtime meditators. They love it. And the people who have struggled to learn how to meditate because the monkey mind chatters or they are having that PTSD reaction, they love it because it's something that they can latch onto and really get there. And we've been able to use like the heart math monitors to find out where your HRV, heart rate variability is. And also with, say, the Sensei headset, which is a 5-in-1 brain training EEG headset that I use with my elite clients and my athletes. But then also through quantitative EEG, those are the ones with the cap on and they have all the goop. We've actually had that with one of the best neuroscientists in the country, or if not the world. And to be able to use these things to really kind of quantify where we're at, but it's also important not to get stuck on the result of, oh, I felt good when I was in this brainwave state, and I won't feel good unless I'm in this brainwave state. That working with people with PTSD, that's on a subconscious level, where if it was just conscious, and they could just say, oh, well, that's not happening to me right now, so I guess I'm okay, and it's not what happened. But I worked with one a soldier who was a Marine recon sniper, and his PTSD was such that even after all the drugs that the VA gave him and the behavioral cognitive therapy and EMDR and EFT tapping, several times a week, he was still tearing his sheets apart, peeing the bed, and beating up his partner in his sleep. And I had a chance to work with him with the body code, which one of the modalities that I work with. And it took about 3 sessions, 3 hours, 3 half-hour sessions, and he never had a nightmare again. along with, he was also one of my students in the Merpati system. So coupling that meditation with the body code and emotion code healing modality was magic for him. And so that is something that I would highly recommend for everybody out there. If you are having PTSD in your life, find somebody who does the emotion code, somebody near you. There should be a good practitioner somewhere close to you. And if you live in Siberia, probably not. But if you live in a metro area or could drive a little while, there are a lot of good practitioners out there. And it made a huge difference for me, made a big difference for a lot of other people. And I also do remote sessions as well. So you could go through my website and actually book a session with me as well if you'd like. That said, meditation is going to be unique for every single person. And the thing is, there are some commonalities. Some people may love transcendental meditation. Other people might like Tumo breathing and meditation from Tibet. Other people might do the Wim Hof breathing, and that gets them because it's very active and embodied, and they can breathe and they can get into a deeper meditative state that way because they're not worried about breathing. Their body has so much oxygen, actually probably too much oxygen sometimes, but it puts them in a nice peaceful state once they stop hyperventilating. Or they could do the Merpati techniques through my site and through my trainings. But the most important thing that I think everybody who has meditated can agree upon is it works. Even if it's hard at first, do it long enough, be devoted to the practice, it works. And, honestly, Shilpa, I don't want to sound fatalistic about this, but everybody needs to understand, blink and you're going to be dead. Life goes by so fast. The older you get, the faster it goes. It's like I'm blinking and decades are going by. That's why presence is so important. But also seizing the opportunity to do whatever you need to do to be present, to get away from the PTSD or the neurosis, those things. It's important. We all have the same end result for the body. We're going to change our address because consciousness does not ever stop. You do not stop. I only know that because I died and came back to life. But it's what you're doing while you're here. You're an information gathering system and you're sending back information to source every single millisecond. Why not use our breath and use our mind in the most constructive way so that we can not only have the best life for us, but also for our family, for our friends, for our coworkers, for our communities. And it all starts with breath. Really, it does. I hope that makes sense. I kind of went off on a tangent, but it's really important for the people who have PTSD or who are, I'm going to say suffering, but I don't believe in suffering. That's a choice, right? Like Buddha said, pain is a part of life, suffering is a choice. Other people have been credited with that saying as well. And that really is what it boils down to. And if you're afraid to meditate, come to my website. I got you. I'll help you out in a way that won't infringe upon your beliefs. And I would recommend finding a meditation instructor in your local area and doing something about this because you have the power. You are your own medicine 100% of the time. You are never your own poison. You're always your own medicine. But a lot of the times we forget that and we wind up poisoning ourselves.
Well, what you just described towards the end, it's just so profound, especially talking about how life appears to be moving at a faster rate as you get. Um, I believe that I speak with, myself included, we're not immune to the challenges and emotional challenges, spiritual challenges. Even if I practice the practice of various types, um,
Yeah.
each of us have a story. Each of us had, like you were describing the bullying. I've shared some other stories with you before we hit record. The journey itself makes us at times feel like we're alone, but we're not. And I like what you said at some point. Perhaps I'm paraphrasing, but that we're so much bigger. There's so much more to us. And that while we are here, we have a powerful mission, and you are carrying out that mission. And it's such an honor that you're now sharing those tools so that others are empowered.
I like to say there are many roads to Zion, but we're all going to Zion. I used to say Rome, and then a Kabbalistic master yesterday, he's like, "Why not the road to Zion?" I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. We're all going to have the same destination, if you will, on the grandest scale. We're here learning. Like I said, we're having experience. You can't shut it off, and it's ongoing. It will be. Even if you have the experience of, wow, I was so peaceful and I wasn't thinking of anything, I wasn't having experience. Yeah, you were. You were having that experience. When you have the, when you die, you continue to have experience. But while we're here, and yes, we do have a mission, and on the overarching theme of this is we're here to learn. We're here to send information back to the grander scale, grander part of us, and the all, which is beyond the fathoming of any human brain. We would just cease to be if we actually got a glimpse of how great we really are. Even in the out of body state, if you read the researchers who have gone so much farther even than I have ever been able to do up until now, it becomes scary. Like they feel like their body is going to vaporize if they actually go any further into this understanding of the all. And that's okay. We're not supposed to right now. We're not supposed to right now. We're supposed to have our experiences, but also learn and grow from those things. And going back to presence, that's the way that we can learn and grow. There's an old adage that I heard a lot as a child that you can't listen and talk at the same time. And that's why you have two ears and one mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you speak. It took a while for that one to sink in until I was like 45. But, this is true that a Catholic priest who was one of my students, he had a great saying that meditation and prayer are not the same thing. Prayer is asking God for something, and meditation is listening for the answer. But you can't listen for the answer if you're always just interrupting him. That's how he put it. I don't subscribe to the creator of the entire universe as being a man or a woman. It's something, once again, beyond fathoming. But if that helps for people to have faith in something greater than themselves, go for it. Great. And when it all comes down to it, my experience has led me to understand that we are all infinite, unlimited, eternal being. We are the infinite, unlimited, eternal being. We're just different parts of it having experience here. But when we look at things from the great scale, the big scale, the 50 trillion light year scale, not the 30,000-foot view, we have the opportunity to be amazing creators, and we attract what we vibrate with and what we are attracting through our thoughts and our emotions and our vibrations and our feelings. And meditation is one of the most effective ways to help us get control of that instead of having the biological system and the conscious mind that has been trained by our society to think a certain way and get out of our head and into our heart. But even more than that, getting into our all, because we're far more than just our body and our heart and our chakras. Those are great information systems that we need right now in order to have this experience, but they're not us.
Oh, Nate, on that note, I sincerely could talk to you for another hour because we could go into all the neuroplasticity and just the different methods by which one can even connect beyond the breath, beyond the meditation, and still remain present in life. But thank you. Thank you. I am so sincere in sharing that this was something I truly enjoyed. And I hope we can have a deeper discussion in a future episode.
I would love that. That would be delightful. Yes.
Thank you, Nate. Well, all of your information, including your offerings and any details, will be in the show notes. and we will connect again. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. And to everybody out there, I wish you a wonderful now. Not just a great day, a great now, because that's all that actually exists anyway.
Thanks for tuning in, sweet soul. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful for your kind review on Apple Podcast. Simply click on the link in the show notes to leave your lovely feedback and uplift our spirits. Your support means the world to me and helps our show thrive. So please show me your love and continue to practice Omni Mindfulness.